But first, Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Scott Pruitt's problems are mounting. On Wednesday, we learned one of his top aides is leaving the agency. Milan Hupp's last day is Friday. She is the EPA's Deputy Director for Scheduling and Advance. Hupp was in the headlines earlier this week. According to emails obtained and released by the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, Pruitt asked her to obtain a used mattress from one of President Trump's hotels. The EPA head has been hounded by negative stories for months now about his stay in a condo owned by a lobbyist, a multi-million-dollar spending spree on security and airfare, and even for asking a staffer to reach out to a Chick-fil-A contact about a potential business opportunity for his wife. Well, now even Republicans in Congress are calling Pruitt out, but they seem to be focused on his policies. Republican Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa joins us now from Capitol Hill. Senator, thank you for your time today. Just want to begin by showing you what President Trump had to say about EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt on Wednesday at the hurricane briefing at FEMA. Let's listen.
Administrator Scott Pruitt, thank you, Scott, very much. EPA is doing really, really well. And, you know, somebody has to say that about you a little bit. You know that, Scott. But you've done, I tell you, the EPA is doing so well, so many approvals and disapprovals. If they don't qualify, they don't qualify. But we don't have to wait 15 years to sell somebody they don't qualify. And people are really impressed with the job that's being done at the EPA. Thank you very much, Scott.
President Trump essentially beaming over the performance of the EPA administrator there. You described him, though, as Scott Pruitt, as swampy as you can get at an energy forum on Tuesday. What did you mean by that?
Well, if you take a look at the record, of course, Administrator Pruitt has had some good wins for the EPA, but there are some things that I disagree with him on, and one was the renewable fuel standard. But outside of that, you know, my job coming to Washington, D.C., of course, I promised the people of Iowa I would make them squeal here in D.C. And when you look at some of the transgressions that we have heard about within the Pruitt administration, I think all of our American taxpayers would be very disappointed from that aspect. So certainly would like to see Administrator Pruitt do a lot better. So that's what I mean by swampy.
Do you think President Trump should dismiss Pruitt?
Well, I do believe that the president should have the best qualified people serving in his administration and certainly on his cabinet. And I think that the president has been doing a tremendous job. Just look at our economy and everything he's been able to accomplish. But if you look at Administrator Pruitt, especially when it comes to the issue of the renewable fuel standard, I just feel like the administrator is trying to undermine the president's promises to American farmers. And so I don't like that aspect. It is up to the president to decide who he wants on his cabinet, but certainly I believe that Scott Pruitt is not upholding the president's promises.
And you also said earlier this week that Scott Pruitt had essentially lied to you when he promised that this renewable fuel standard would be passed as you had agreed upon. Just for our viewers, explain what kind of impact the change in the RFS would have on farmers in your state.
Absolutely. Of course, many months ago, it was last year, we did get a letter that was signed by Administrator Pruitt promising that he would move away from attaching RINs to export ethanol. So that was wonderful. We were glad to have that in writing. He also had stated that he would uphold the letter and the spirit, the intent, congressional intent of the renewable fuel standard. Both of those aspects that he has moved entirely away from. He came up with a scheme that would attach RINs to export ethanol, and he has been trying to undermine the RFS by granting hardship waivers to refineries that have not exhibited to us that they are undergoing hardship. So I do think that he did lie. He put his name to this letter and then did exactly the opposite. And that's what I mean by undercutting our president and our president's commitment to farmers. farmers. It really would hurt, our corn industry, our farmers in the great state of Iowa and across the Midwest, but it impacts every other industry that's tied to agriculture as well. So we're glad that the president has backed away from the changes that were proposed by Administrator Pruitt. The president is doing a great job for American farmers, and we're very thankful for that.
But it does sound that these two issues are essentially connected. Your colleague, the senior Republican Senator Chuck Grassley, said earlier this week that the oil lobby has always been too powerful in Washington, and he's fearful that Administrator Pruitt is listening or at least changing policies to benefit those in the oil industry. And as we've already discussed, there have been criticisms that he's been too close to lobbyists while he's been the administrator of the EPA. So do you question Pruitt's judgment overall?
Well, and again, that is of great concern, and our American taxpayers expect much better. They do expect that people serving in the administration and those that are elected to federal office are going to represent their constituents and do the right thing for all of their constituencies. And of course, it does bring that into question then. So I would like to see the president continue to uphold his promises that were made during the campaign. He is doing that by representing our farmers well in the White House.
Now, he has continued to hang on to his job, and we just showed there President Trump backing Pruitt up massively. If someone on your staff was using taxpayer money for personal gain, what action would you take?
Oh, they would not be on my staff any longer. So that is guaranteed. So I know that the president has some tough choices to make. He wants to believe in his staff. But again, I will just reiterate, I know that the president is trying to do the best possible job that he can for the American farmer. And I do believe that Administrator Pruitt is using his position to try and undercut those farmers by trying to get rid or weaken the renewable fuel standard. It's a tough choice, but it is a choice that I believe the president will need to make.
All right, Senator Joni Ernst doing what folks from the Midwest usually do, say it like it is. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks so much. Thank you.